Welcome back. So, snow day doubleheader, which I think I'm going to make a triple feature. So, I'm just going to do a quick lap for the next film. Assuming I don't get hit in the parking lot. La La Land. This one's tough because it's one of those films that everybody I know, because I'm in theater. That's what I do. I'm about to direct a musical. I'm right now in my intro to theater classes. I'm teaching musicals. So we spent all the last 2 days in class talking about the different types of songs and all that. And everybody on Facebook is just they're gaga about this movie. They love it. It's this whole thing. And I kind of feel like this, for me, is kind of like the Hamilton of movie musicals. Everybody in theater is supposed to like it, and yet I just really didn't. I think that's harsh. That's a little too harsh. I didn't hate it. I think there is a really big problem with the tone of this. Let me see if I can explain. So, movie is trying to be a modern version of kind of the classical, like MGM, Warner Brothers musicals. So there's these elaborate dance and song numbers throughout it, and they're very well shot. The costumes are great. Emma Stone looks fantastic. She looks like she belongs in that time period. And I think she does a very good job in this. And the musical numbers are, like I say, they're very elaborately shot, really striking visuals. And, a lot of things that are supposed to be really, really moving and really kind of sweep you up in the romance and the beauty of it. But here's the problem, is that this movie is so committed to its own. Let me put it this way. Let me try to describe it this way. The last time I saw a musical that really worked, an original movie musical that really worked, was Moulin Rouge. And the reason that Moulin Rouge worked is because Baz Luhrmann, for any faults he might have, is fully out and out committed to the zaniness, to the over the topness, to the theatricality. And he goes all the way with it. And it's genuine. He's not just being flashy to be flashy. That's who he is. That is his personality. That is how he expresses the story he wants to tell. And that's why, in my opinion, Moulin Rouge is very successful in what it does. This one, I do not believe has that advantage. I believe that in its early goings, I'd say let's say about the first half of the film, at least. The film is so in your face about how beautifully shot it is. It's so self-aware of the beauty of the shots and the dancing and all that there is no substance to it. It doesn't feel natural. It doesn't feel real. And a good musical has got to be 100% committed to the ideas and the emotions it's trying to convey. That emotion, that idea can't be, we're a musical. That's its original idea for a lot of the film. At least that's how it feels. Is the original idea is, we're a musical. Well, bully for you. And because of that, through a great chunk of this movie, I felt no emotional connection to anything. The songs in the early going of this film are bland and samey, and neither one of these actors, Emma Stone's better than Ryan Gosling, which I'm going to talk about him in a second, but neither one of them are good enough singers that it feels like they're connecting with what's going on. So the first chunk of this movie is just so fake and so plastic and does not connect. Now, I keep saying in the first half of this movie, and that's because, up until that point, I was going to come out here and give this thing kind of a bad review. but somewhere about the halfway point, I think. It's hard to keep track. The movie was really long, and it felt it. They stopped doing musical numbers. And there's this long stretch of it's just their relationship and the strains and as they're both trying to pursue their dreams, and one's kind of getting success, but success he doesn't really want, and the other is trying so hard but not getting it. There's this long stretch where there is no musical numbers. They don't stop suddenly to do this very elaborate, very, expensive looking dance number. They just act and they just go through it, and then it all kind of culminates with Emma Stone's character getting an audition where she sings this really nice song. I don't know what the exact title of it, but it's like "Here's to the Ones That Dream" is what kind of the hook of it is. And that number worked. That number worked because, number one, there was not all of this, superficial bullshit going on around it. And number two, because they took the time to connect that song to what the characters were feeling. They took the time. And therefore, when she sings that song, it's heartfelt. It's packed with everything she's been going through and everything she wants and everything she's going to lose. So much is said in that song. One thing I did like about the directing of this movie is that there's a lot of shots done, just continuous shots without a lot of cuts. A lot of the dance numbers are done that way, which is really impressive. But that one worked probably the best because it was just this shot of her, and the camera kind of went around her, and it was just her emoting, and it was beautiful. So from the point they stopped singing to that song, to the end of that song, and even a little bit after that, this was a good movie. But it feels like it's two movies that don't blend together. I have the same problem with this one I had with The Dressmaker. I feel like they're two films, two ideas, two extremes that did not meld together. And I think the only way this could have been salvaged is, to me, you had to either A, do a Baz Luhrmann and go balls to the wall and go, we're going big, bold, and brassy with this, and do it for the sole purpose of that's the kind of story we're telling. We're telling a story of big emotions, so we're going to tell it big. Or go the simpler, softer, more human connection kind of story. You're either going to do Wicked or you're going to do Fiddler on the Roof. Those are your choices. You can't do halfway. You can't do a big a movie like Fiddler or a musical like Fiddler and then suddenly have a big number with a lot of special effects. And don't anybody pull out Tevye's Dream on me and say, well, what about that? That was still within the world, but you can't pull out a big, Wizard of Oz type number in a movie like that. They don't go together. And the same thing is true here. The emotional stuff, when it was on point, worked, but the bigger stuff didn't because it had no emotional center. So I can't get behind this one. I want to get behind it because I think there's parts of it that really do work. And I think the director did have a strong vision. But it's something I kind of tell my directing students. Your vision doesn't work if there's no emotional center to hold it all together. It's the Jim Henson principle. The Jim Henson projects, the Muppets, or any of his bigger stuff, even, the reason Labyrinth doesn't work for me, or not Labyrinth, Dark Crystal, is because there's no human connection to it. There's no human center. It's all a big special effect. Whereas Labyrinth does work because the special effects and the puppets are there to help enhance the human story, And Jim Henson was the best at that. Watch The Storyteller sometime and look at how it has a human center in all the fairy tales it's telling. And I think that's what this movie needed more of. It needed more of a human center, and not to be so, pardon me as I'm a little graphic here, but it's just the way I feel about it, so up its own ass about how beautiful and how, it has some beautiful dance numbers, but they don't connect to anything. You don't give a shit. I'm so sick of musicals like that. I'm so sick of musicals that are all fluff and no connection. I really am. I would love it if someone just told an honest story and used the music to help tell an honest story. I can't get behind it, you know? And I sometimes think, and I'm going to say this, and this may sound rude and condescending, and I know it does. So before I say that, let me specify. I liked basketball, okay? So my opinion is, suspect at best, all right? But I sometimes think that when stuff like this comes out, we theater people, we want to get behind it so much because we feel it's telling our story. It's finally something us. It's the thing we love, and it's out there, and people are getting behind it. It makes us feel like we're accepted. And if you saw this movie and you loved this movie, then more power to you. Good for you. I'm glad it connected to you. I truly am. But I think we may sometimes be in such a hurry to want to connect to something. We're in such a hurry to want to love something. We don't really take a step back and go, but is this honestly working? That's my opinion of it. That's how I feel about it and the phenomenon of things like this sometimes. It's how I feel sometimes about the phenomenon of Hamilton. We want to like something different because it's different. And if you love Hamilton, then good for you. Great. This is not me dissing Hamilton. It's just saying, I just don't feel like there's a center to it. I don't feel like there's a connection. I just don't. And that's me. If you do, then go for it. And this is not an all bad movie. I think Emma Stone's really acting her heart out. I think she's singing as best she can. I don't think it hits quite. I gotta say though, one of the things about this movie is this is, as far as I can tell, this is the first and only movie I've ever seen with Ryan Gosling in it. There's a guy whose name I've heard for years, but I've never seen a single damn movie he's been in, and after seeing this movie, there's a reason for that. He kind of sucks. I don't know if it's him or the character, but I didn't like it. I didn't like him. I thought he was too much of that snarky, know-it-all artist who, you don't understand my art. You don't know what I'm doing. Who always knows what everybody else should do with their life. But when anyone tries to help him out, then they're crushing his dream. But then there is this one part that I really hate in this movie, and it's during that chunk that was good. They get into a fight, the classic romantic film fight, and I could not keep track of what Emma Stone was mad about. She's lecturing at one point about giving up his dream because he joins this band. Why don't you? Well, why aren't you going to open your jazz club? Why aren't you going to do that? And then she switches tracks, and he's legitimately confused. I don't know what you're mad about. And I had to go, I don't freaking know what you're mad about either. In that moment, I actually thought his acting was good, but I don't know if that's just because the actor was actually confused or not. But I gotta say, Ryan Gosling, I have not missed anything. Because I think he was pretty bad. The only thing I will give him a lot of credit for is I think his dancing was really smooth, and it really did feel like kind of one of those classic dancers. Had that kind of Fred Astaire, Gene Kelly kind of thing going. But other than that, his singing was not great, and his acting was really, really subpar. Really subpar. And that's another thing. I think I said this already, but if not, if I did, I'm gonna reiterate it. The songs in this, for a musical, especially if they just spent 2 days going over all these different examples with these kids about different types of songs and musicals, they were all so the same. There were 2 songs in this that stood out. One of them, the aforementioned "Here's to the Ones That Dream." That was really well done and really beautiful. And there's a jazz number in the middle when Ryan Gosling's with his jazz band. But the thing is that was a really upbeat, really great song. But you're like, am I not supposed to like this? Because you can tell he hates it. It's jazz that he doesn't like because it's not pure. So so I felt bad because I'm liking up until that point, that was the only song in the film I liked. And it's like, that's the one I'm not supposed to like. You know, that's the one that's supposed to show that he's sold out and he's given up on his dream or whatever. And it was very confusing to me. It emotionally confused me. So yeah, they didn't take a lot of their own advice. There was no one showstopper. There was no "I Want" song. There was no real character song. There was no, it didn't fit. They were all, for that first chunk, you could interchange any of those songs. I wouldn't have been able to tell the difference. I really wouldn't. One other thing that bugs me about this movie, because this is a weird thing to pick up on. So during this little montage towards about let's say the early second act or whatever, they've gotten together, they're in love, they're going a little montage, and they go to they meet their friends who are engaged, an African American man and his wife, and his fiance, and you're just like, did we meet these people? Why is this good? And then later Ryan Gosling's playing at their wedding, and later when they do the flash forward to the last 5 years style, and it shows they sent him a Christmas card. It's like, who are you people? I don't think we ever met them. Did we? If not, if we did, then that should go a long way to showing just how poorly written and developed the characters were, because they sure as hell didn't leave an impression. That is one thing. I'm going to say this about this movie, and this is a big plus in this movie's favor. And this is a spoiler alert. So if you have not seen it, please turn this off so that I don't ruin it for you. Because I think there is a neat thing in the end of this film. I like the way the movie ends. In the end, so turn it off now. Last chance. Spoiler alert. They don't end up together. She goes and pursues her movie career. She ends up getting married. She has a kid. And he goes and opens his jazz club where he's playing the music he wants to play. And they're both happy. And in the end, her and her husband end up at the jazz club by accident. And she hears him play. And she has this moment, a really kind of prolonged and not really very good dream sequence of what could have been with him. And then the last moment is they get up and they see each other and they kind of look at each other, and there's this really well done look. They smile as if to say, I wish it could have been different. It's not, but things turned out better, And I really liked that. I like it. I haven't seen a movie do that since Chasing Amy. The idea that sometimes the greatest love of your life is the one you don't end up with. It's not to say she doesn't love her husband, though he was rather bland. You don't know who the hell he is. But it's to say that, that really powerful moment in your life and that love that, was really strong, that doesn't necessarily mean that's the person you're meant to be with in the end. They come into your life, they serve a purpose, they help you along, and it changes you. But you don't get to have the happily ever after with them, and I liked that. I liked that about this movie. I thought that was a bold thing to take. For a movie that was, in my opinion, kind of manipulative, trying to be very manipulative with how it conveyed emotion, I think to end on a really, not so much a negative, but not one you would expect from a romantic movie. I think that took some guts, and I think it was handled really well, and I think that worked. And woe is me kind of moment. And maybe I get that simply because that's the only kind of romance I've ever known, are the ones that don't work out. So, maybe I'm projecting a little bit, but I still thought it was well done, and they handled it well. So I have to give, if I'm going to sit here and bitch about the fact that I don't feel like the musical numbers had any emotional connection, I need to give it props for handling that in a really, really good way. So I think in that aspect, the movie worked really well. So I wish I could have liked this one more. I wish I was one of those people that could. Sometimes I want one of these romances, sidebar, and I shouldn't really get off on, but I'm going to. One of these people I was in a relationship with, one time, we were having a conversation once about why I don't like Pixar movies, and I was wondering, everybody seems to love Pixar movies but me, and you start wondering, is there something wrong, with you? I've been accused of I don't like things just because they're popular, and that I want to be on the outside. And my response to that was my same response to hers. Like, do you know how lonely that is? Why would I willingly do that to myself? You know what it's like to kind of have everybody in the world love something and you feel like you're the only one who doesn't, and when you're in your 20s, like I was with kind of Titanic, you have that feeling of, well, there's something wrong with everybody else. But when it happens, over and over and over, you start wondering, what the hell's wrong with me? Why don't I get the joke? So I wanted to like this movie. I really did. And I think it has some strong aspects to it. But in the end, I just don't think any of it hangs together that well. I think the director was a little too full of themselves, and I think they needed to like I said, they either needed to stay honest with the emotion or go full Baz Luhrmann on it. One of the two, halfway doesn't work. So if you liked the movie, great, cool, no judgment. I think it's great. I can see why you would, but for me, it didn't work. Wasn't good enough, and sorry, this one's not going to make a top 10 list, I don't think. So, anyway, it's late, but you know what? I'm living crazy, so we're going for one more. All right? Snow Day triple feature. So, until I'm back with that film, drive safe, and I'll see you at the movies.